Okay, everybody, I want to just catch you up on where we are drought-wise. And I'm going to walk and talk as I do. So this is a pasture that I just moved the cattle out of 4 days ago. And there's quite a bit of residual here, not in the whole pasture, but most of the pasture. And if you'll listen to me walk, you can just hear how crunchy this grass is. It is just absolutely burned up. And although there's just a tint of green in the Bermuda grasses, the Bahia grass is just absolutely burnt up to nothing. There's no green left in it, but you can see the green in the Bermuda grass there. Another one there. And so one of our most important resources that we need to protect right now is our hay. And we're getting to where fires are starting to pop out around our area. And obviously you all know about all the horrible fires in Canada, and we're just ripe for major problems. And so I just want to go over with you kind of a fire plan with regard to the resources that we have for our cattle. So stay tuned and saddle up with me. So one of the most important resources that I'm trying to protect right now is my hay supply. And I have about 350 rolls of hay put aside. 177 or so rolls were from last year that I was fortunate enough to get in and didn't need. And then I've got another 150 rolls of hay that I bought from my hay supplier. And then I put up about 50 rolls or so at the clinic property that I grew myself. And the resource we have to protect from fire is this hay. If this hay catches on fire, there's not going to be any more for me to get, or it's going to be prohibitively expensive. And so it would put me in a situation where I'd have to cash out on the cattle that I've been developing over the years. So you can see, unfortunately, I let the cows get in here. Somebody didn't hook up the electric fence, and of course they pushed on it. So there's a little bit of hay that they ate, nothing bad. You can see the new hay here. And I stacked all this hay outside my hay trap because my hay trap was full. So here's my hay trap, and a lot of hay in there, some hay from last year. You can see the cattle in here watering in the pen. This is my center water point in the pasture that they're currently in, and they'll come in here, water, and leave. So the things we need to talk about is how do we preserve our hay supply, particularly in light of the fire danger. If this country catches on fire right here, it's gone. And once a hay bale catches on fire, it's almost impossible to put out. It'll smolder, 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 smolder till it's all gone. And so we want to be equipped to deal with that. So a couple thoughts and things you need to think about and decide what's good for your situation. One is you could plow some fire breaks around your hay, and not a bad idea if you've got a plow. If you don't, borrow a neighbor's if you're so inclined. And if that's not feasible, then you go on to plan number 2. Now, a very reasonable plan would be to call your insurance agent on your farm policy and insure your hay. Now, if you think about the numbers, I paid $75 a bale. They're 1,200 pound rolls. Paid $75 a bale for all this hay. And I didn't crunch the numbers, but I'm going to suggest to you that that number is around $25,000 worth of hay at $75 a roll, which is right now is a good price. One of my employees bought some hay this last weekend, and it was $110 a roll. So if I lose this resource, I'm probably going to lose about 25 grand. Replacement cost will probably be twice that, if I could even find it, assuming we don't get any rain and don't get a fall cutting, which is looking pretty bleak in that we are August 24th and we got nothing. I mean, we've had nothing since June 10th. And I mean, I'm telling you, this stuff will just go up like, this will go up like there's gasoline on it. So you got to know that, got to be aware, and you got to make a plan. So insurance would be a reasonable thing. I'm going to look into that myself. I think if you have a tractor, have it fueled, ready to go. And one thing that I've done, and I'll show you a quick clip here, is that I have hooked up my spray rig, 200-gallon spray rig, and I've got it ready to go with a, I can either use the wand, which will deliver high pressure and shoot out a stream 25-30 feet, and I could fight a little bit of fire with that. Wouldn't last long, but may last long enough that the fire department can get here, which they have to come from about 30 minutes away on either side of me. But if you've got a tractor, have it fueled up. If you've got a plow, have it hooked up. Or if you decide to try to fight it with water, have your spray rig hooked up. I think one thing that's really important, and I've not decided what I'm going to do there, is if there's a fire, your cattle need an escape route. Where are they going to go if the fire's coming to them and they get bunched up in a corner as the fire gets there, and they potentially will die of smoke inhalation. They may burn up, and none of us know how that would end up, but you got to consider those options. So got to have gates unlocked, and or at least rapid fire be able to get them open. And hopefully in my situation I would be able to call the cattle with my cube feeder, and they'd for the most part follow me well, and I'd get them out on a county road where there's no fire danger and then walk them back home. So that would be one option for me. If you're on a big place, you may do all that horseback and just move them away from the fire and keep them away from the fire. There's enough brush in here that they could get in there if they were smart enough to get in there, and it wouldn't burn through that brush because there's not any grass underneath it. But again, you got to be thinking, and who knows what's going to happen. Get a big fire going and it's hot, it could start those trees on fire, and it could burn through there just like it does in the pine tree forests. Probably important to watch the wind and just kind of get an idea of which direction it's blowing out of, and do this every day. Just kind of be aware of your surroundings. I like to check the weather multiple times a day on the weather app, or My Radar Pro, which is the version of a radar app that I really like. My Radar Pro, it's excellent. Best Doppler radar that I think I've found anywhere, and I'm really into looking for that stuff. So watch the weather, and then just common sense stuff. Don't weld. Don't start your welder up and have a project and you got your shield on, your face shield on, and you look around behind you and there's a blazing fire burning, and it'll be out of control in a very short period of time. And if it's near your hay trap and you lose this resource, you're in trouble this time of year, because there's not going to be much hay available, or it's going to be super high priced. If you're a smoker, don't throw cigarettes out the window. I mean, good grief, that's just common sense. But The problem is we all live in areas that are impacted by society, and these areas are shrinking, so that we are invaded by people that don't understand common sense sometimes, I would suggest to you. And they don't care. They flip a cigarette out the window at 60 miles an hour. They're down the road. They don't even know what they started, and nobody can figure out that they're the ones that started it. And you're in a jam. You're in a big jam. So caution others if you see smokers that are being careless, and be watchful. You're running down your county road going to your house, and you see something that looks like a little fire, get help immediately. And if you have any resources in your truck, a fire extinguisher, shovel, whatever, you might be able to stop a small fire before it spreads. And I would tell you, probably most of you that are going to be in danger are going to be in danger because you live right on a county road, and that's where fires typically happen. I drove up to Dallas the other day. Actually, I drove to Oklahoma City, and all along the freeway, there was probably, I bet I passed 30 fires that had happened along the freeway. And little fires, and they were put out quick, but they're right on the interstate, and the fire departments can get there quickly or fairly quickly, and they were contained. But we're living in a drought right now that could be catastrophic. If you are the unlucky one that has a fire on your place, it'll take all your grass potentially, so you have nothing to graze between now and winter. Assuming we get any rain, we might have a little regrowth, but it won't be much in that amount of time. And so it takes away your fall forage. If it wipes out your whole farm, it's going to threaten your farm buildings, your barns, your outbuildings, your house. So I would suggest, I've got hoses down here off that trough where the cattle are watering, and I've got those ready to go where I can hopefully get out here around the hay if needed, put sprinklers out, etc. And certainly not trying to be an alarmist. I've had one fire on my place, and it was a fire that got away from one of the guys working for me, and it wasn't nearly as dry as this, and I'm telling you, that thing went crazy quick. So common sense things, don't do stupid things. Grease your wheel bearings. You know, don't let the trailer chains, the safety chains on your trailers, don't let them drag as you're going down the road, or any other chains. That's going to create a spark. Anything that can create a spark in these conditions is going to start a fire. And so, you know, something like that happens at night while we're all sleeping, you don't know anything about it till it's too late. So those are just some things to think about. I think insurance is a real good option, and I'm going to investigate that tomorrow. With this severe drought in Texas, I think it's reasonable, and I think I'll make another video about that. Reasonable to talk to the USDA and look into drought relief. And I'm not one to take money from the government, never have, but I think you might think about it. They've got money sitting there, and it may be something at least to investigate depending on the situation you get into. So that's what I have for you this evening. Got to talking with my buddy, Dr. Tom Bonner, really good cattle veterinarian, and a lot of those ideas that we just discussed were his, so I want to give him due credit. And we'll see you next time. So thanks for riding along with me.